All right, everybody, welcome back to the final 2071 week season. This is the playoff in review, I guess, and we're going to spoil it for you. We have a champion. Cleveland won, and the victorious GM is here with us now. Why don't you say hi?
Reverse psychology won the day, lads. I said I wasn't good. I still kind of believe that, but here we are. And my God, the relief. It's like the monkey's off my back. Forever.
Yeah, so that was Adam, the GM of the Cleveland team, the reigning champ. I'm Big E. I'm the GM of Boston, and with us also is Michael, the GM of Philly.
Who you will not see on that playoff bracket this year.
Who knows? Maybe next year.
If
Right.
all goes according to plan, I think my window is open.
All right, so let's get into it. So when we last left off, they were
speaking of what
just
Michael just said, I don't know. The age of Detroit is just starting, so be careful.
yeah.
This is true. This is very true.
So when we last
This was a
left
good
off,
postseason. There were some good twists and turns.
I mean, when you think
for
about
sure.
it, like we had one, two, three, four of the 6, 7 series go down to every game. There's really only one like blowout, and that was when New York beat up on Bob. But we'll look at those final scores. So let's start with that then. So the first matchup was Bob's Toronto team versus the Bees, Atlanta Bees or Swarms. Where are they now?
It's a swarm stuff, but I still want to say before we get into the scores that I like what Atlanta does. He's not a guy that tanks. He's not a guy that is ever going to be fine at the bottom of the BL, but he finds a way to put a team together at least every couple of years that gets to the TOC.
Yeah, and this was one of the matchups that I think we were talking about. Bob's Toronto team was the top team in the Premier League. They were kind of the favorite going into it. And let's just take a look at how that series ended up for them.
And again, just because he had a Pierce Andrew having a career year and he wasn't paying him a dime.
Yeah.
I thought about
It makes
this
it
a
easy to
lot.
be the best team in the league. It really does.
You're right, but like think about how aggressive Bob is when with moving assets. Both,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's like where I'm weak as a GM. I don't put in the legwork that he does, but it was a fairly, I mean, all things considered, a fairly tight series. I mean, with the exception of he got blew out by Atlanta. Atlanta didn't play like bad. They just
Nope.
didn't score many runs except for in Game 3.
Correct.
But I would have expected Toronto to put up a little more runs because they had a pretty good offense. Let's look at Pierce Andrew.
I think Bungo got hurt in this
Yeah.
offseason. And
Yeah,
in this,
Bungo
in
was
this series.
out.
And by the way, Bungo is fun to say. I never say it out loud. That is a fun name to say.
Bungo did play in the postseason.
But
he got
hurt
a
in
whole.
the first series.
He got 2 at
Got hurt
bats
in
in
one
the
of the
first series.
Yeah.
But of course he got a hit. He got on base every time.
Of course he did.
The legend continues, I guess. So even though he's 34 and with no signs of stopping,
He's got lots of signs of stopping. He just doesn't stay permanently stopped.
I mean, when I look at like these ratings, though, for whatever reason, they just never change for me. And he always puts up outstanding numbers. And I look at that, and every player on my team, their TCR, I guess, is just wild. Where like they'll go from like really good to really bad real quick. I look at Bungo, and it's amazing that TCR has decided just to avoid him completely.
Yeah, he's the biggest thing about him is his consistency. Like, if he just wasn't fragile or wrecked or
you're saying that, but he still played most of the past 3 seasons.
Bob deserves like literally to be in the CBA Hall of Fame for how he's managed Bungo. Bungo is going to go into Hall of Fame with a Mythics cap on because of the way Bob's managed him.
Now let's see. This is postseason. So we got regular season. 72 WAR. Most of it is with Toronto.
Yep.
Bob has squeezed every last drop of, he what he's done is he's not been super conservative, and he's not really been super aggressive. And it looks like as the contract gets towards the end, he's going to start being more aggressive with it because what does he have to lose?
Well, and you're also getting him at center field. My fear when you have a wrecked player is that they're just going to be a DH only, and Bob's playing this dude in the field.
Yep.
Yep, you have to. You have to.
I mean, especially when he's
Um,
this good defensively.
especially because I don't see Bob as a particularly risk-taking player. Very, very calculating. He'll do some off-the-wall things, but I never see him like gambling. Like if this doesn't work, I'm gonna be in the Bronze League, which I've made those moves before, for sure.
Yeah, me too.
He doesn't do that. But when he plays with Bungo, it seems like he is. But the rest of that team is so good, it doesn't even matter.
hmm Yeah, it's a well put together team. I mean, look at this pitching staff, pretty solid. This is a guy who I look at like this guy would come to Boston and put up -3 WAR.
I
How
think
does him?
if we look at one of the things I like to look at, and I'm going to look at Bob's first time ever, is his park factors. If you go to team settings, yeah, it's kind of like mine. His is a lot more pitcher friendly than mine. But the one thing we both share is that it's not friendly to home runs.
And you have to keep in
That was a
mind.
change I consciously made. It left her like 2064, 2065, I think, to emphasize all parts of offense except home runs.
And one
I
thing to
built
keep
my
in
team
mind, you might
around
look at
that.
this 0.99 and think, well, that's pretty much league average. League average is 1.05.
Yep.
So that's 6% below league average.
And if you look at that compared to mine, mine's even more dramatic. Mine's 0.925.
Oh, wow.
My park is fun. I love my park.
All right.
But you need to build a team around it. And so we'll talk about my team, I'm sure. This is my one time to gloat about my team. But I really built my team with my park in mind, right from the Browns League up.
All right. So Boston, I'm sorry, I lied. I'm just projecting now. That's what I wanted to happen. So Toronto won and they advanced. Then New York played Detroit, and that was a fun matchup that I think all of us were excited to see the outcome of because Detroit is very young, very good, and now they're in the Premier League, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, and so New York is another fun story where they used to be. I would say they were probably one of those teams that were always in the Premier League, then dropped down to the Bronze League, got a new GM, and now they made it to the TOC finals. So this was a good matchup between two good teams. Let's take a look at. Well, they're all promoted now. Let's take a quick look at Detroit. These rosters, it's a little in the future, so there's some changes and guys are getting released, but
this team is
stupidly good. When you look at this, oh my gosh. Imagine being New York. So New York won the first 2 games, lost the next 2, and then won the tiebreaker, and that was a close series. I mean, the biggest lead was three runs.
Yep. And I think most people would probably agree that Detroit is the better team, but because New York came into the Tournament of Champions as a PL team, they did have home field advantage, and that probably swung that series.
They won. Every team that played at home won.
Yep.
That's a very interesting point.
I just realized that now, but home field advantage absolutely swung that series.
Yeah. So it's, 2 very good teams. I mean, New York won, 69 games. That's a pretty good team.
Yep.
So that's interesting because I think next year I would assume that Detroit would be better. Like if I want to.
Detroit's going to be stupid good this year.
You're way too early. 2072 preseason predictions. My playoff teams are going to be DC, Toronto, Cleveland, and Detroit.
Yep.
That's
probably pretty fair. I know at some point in the future I'm going to start selling off. Like I got my core locked up, but that just means I have trade assets because I can retain. That's going to happen at some point. This is the age of Detroit starting now, but it's just a matter of getting into the TOC. Winning the PL is nice. Like I know we had a debate one year, like what's more important, winning the Premier League or winning the TOC?
TOC. Come on, man.
And that's what I say too. But I understand Bob. I think Bob was on the side of winning the PL because it's over 126 games.
Yeah, I remember that debate.
Every year. But I don't know. We don't care about who has the most wins in baseball typically. I'm on the board of winning the playoffs, but it's going to be Joey's to lose for the next few years.
Yeah, there's really only one team that didn't win the World Series that everyone talks about to this day, and that was that Mariners team in 2001.
Mariners. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Everybody else, who cares? Think about how many Dodgers teams win like 108 games and no one thinks twice about them.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we say every time that happens is, "Oh, you won all those games, and what did it get you? Nothing."
Yep. So we got a little distracted, but that New York Detroit.
By the way,
series,
before we go off the screen, I just want to say it's so cute that the game thinks I have 7 whole prospects. Oh goodness gracious, my organization.
That's what I was looking at. That it looks like you have like one guy, maybe 2 others that could be okay.
Gray Veneman could be pretty good. This catcher is just like a typical catcher. He looked really good, and then he's not.
These guys, like this guy's young enough that anything's possible.
Yeah, he's pretty good, I think. But anyone else, no. Anyway, moving on.
So New York beat Detroit in a game where every team that had that home field advantage won. Then let's talk about the biggest upset probably in the whole playoffs.
Yeah.
Galveston beating DC. That's pretty wild. Let's take a look at that real quick.
I'm not gonna lie. I know some people would lie and be like, "Well, you never." As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Okay, I've got to win this, or I'm gonna be really upset now."
Oh, I'm sure. Like I imagine you were far more. I mean, obviously you're deeper in the playoffs, but like this matchup, Galveston versus Cleveland, that had to make you more nervous than probably any other matchup because this is the team you have to beat.
I actually wouldn't say nervous. I actually wouldn't say nervous at all. It was just like, because it's baseball. He's got a 20% chance at worst to beat me no matter what. It's just like, I know I am unquestionably the favorite here. And so if I lose, I blew it. So I should win. And then once you get to the finals, it's 50-50 at worst.
Yep. So when you look at that, I mean, another very close series. Oh my God, all these games are still low scoring. I think so far we've seen one game where one team put up 7 runs and everything else is like low. I want to take a look at this Galveston team. They are now a Silver League team. They got promoted from the Bronze League to the Silver League. Did they win the Bronze League? I think they did.
Yeah, they ran away with it because Willie was the villain of the league that last year. I didn't dislike the guy. We shouldn't really make this about that, but then he left and McSwag came back, and so it's kind of a weird situation. But that is a really good, well built team.
A lot of decent prospects. It looks like too.
Yeah.
Yep. So hopefully built for the future. I look at Joey Ward, who is a Boston guy.
I hate Joey Ward.
I hate this. I'm mad looking at this right now. Like
I hate him.
Like this
should not ratings work. Make me angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm
the one that traded for him for nothing and then traded him away for nothing, because what about that should work?
Nothing. It's like, even if it does work, it just makes you mad that it works. Like, this doesn't work.
When you look at his major seasons, I mean, he played well, I guess, in 2065. Not bad. To 2070. I mean, for a DH, you want a good hitter. Then you finally put it all together.
I can't speak for everyone. I don't know if Michael had this experience, but it was really funny because when Bob had Joey Ward, he kept trying to trade Joey Ward, and it was like this half-ass pitch because even he knew Joey Ward shouldn't work.
Yep.
He was like, "Come on, this guy's gonna be great," and it's like, "Come on, Bob. We all know he's good."
And just to bring this up, he was originally my guy. He was one of the first guys because in the middle of 2056, that was when I took over the team. Literally one of the first players I ever acquired. And then I traded him to Toronto.
It's really amazing how even in this game, which is basically an Excel spreadsheet, you have these guys. Like, no one remembers, but you were like,
oh, yeah.
Man, meant everything to me.
So Joey Ward's
literally
the type of
my
guy.
Assistant GM is some guy that I traded a first-round pick for when I was a new GM, and everyone, told me I was an idiot, and then he died. And now they got him a ring, so I got the last laugh on that one.
Yeah, if I'm McSwag, you send this guy back to the BL immediately. I mean, he's not going to put up 2 WAR again. But
although
I'm
the
also
good
not that
eye
good of a
means
GM.
a lot. I mean, we've had players make a career just on having an eye. And
that's true.
Glove, so
and when you look at his walk rate, it jumped to 5%.
Yep. That'll do
All right.
it. And
Other
then
than
the one
that, are there
last
any
thing I'll
like
say about this
mashers on this
series
team?
is, oh, sorry.
Yeah. 6 War
The
for
one last thing
Patty
I'll say,
Bork.
okay, go ahead. Just go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, the one last thing I'll say about the series is that for whatever reason, Mark always underperforms in the playoffs, except last year. And I think it's in a weird way, partially because he does find these players that develop really well, but OOTP still doesn't really like those players in their engine, if that makes sense. He finds these mid late round picks that turn into these great prospects. For some reason, they don't reach like that level at the end, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He won last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was his
And
first
on
time
paper,
ever.
his team is the best. On
Yeah.
paper, his team is far and away the best.
And it's been that way for multiple years now.
Yep.
And he's only won one championship. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the only time he's even been to the finals.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're absolutely right. He has underperformed. I mean, this is it fair
like,
to say?
I'm trying to find a way to say the point I'm trying to make, but it's really complicated. Like, I think Mark has definitely cracked the code in finding these deep players that develop into these 80-80 studs, but they're not actually 80-80s. Like, the game still doesn't like them that much. Yeah.
You know, when you look at his offense, we look at Pete Abels, Byron McLean, and Wangan, 3 players who should be very, very good and have been, that all had down years and were essentially league average.
Yeah.
I mean, this team's offense was really...
There's no other reason.
I mean, I feel like this is like just what I always say, but like I feel like a lot of these guys really just underperformed. How the hell does this guy put up a 90 weighted runs created plus? It's probably that speed.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all that speed.
It's got to be that speed.
This is the best hitter on his team so far.
It's a catcher.
Interesting. Yeah. But of course, very good pitching. Let's take a look at that series one more time. Very close, very low scoring, but Galveston pulled away from it. Quite the upset. So good for Galveston. You know, you take that going into the next year, and you can say you've beat one of the best teams in the league when it mattered the most. And then we have the final quarterfinal, which is that Cleveland versus Vegas. What do you remember from that, Adam?
Well, I remember that I actually was working and forgot it was happening, so I didn't see the series live, which is kind of a blessing because it was a tight one. So if I was watching it live, I would have been really down after game 1 because Bobby Cortez just seems to like not bring it in the playoffs.
Yeah, this is
narrative
game
does
1.
change this year.
He
lost
narrative
6
runs.
Change this season, but that first game, it's like typical. Oh my God, here we go. Here's your asshole personality coming out. But I did think my team was better. Guys like Andres Gonzalez and Sean Fillmore will play in Vegas's park, which favors righties. I don't have a lot of lefties, pitching, so it felt pretty good. I'm happy with the game 5 win. Vegas has a great team too, but yeah, it's not really a rivalry. I like Austin. We haven't been in the same league in like 6-7 seasons, so that was kind of just a friendly, fun little series. Not much to say about
That's
it.
where you should make it a rivalry and start talking shit.
Oh, we still do. Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm kind of just happy for him because he's just been this guy. He's just feeling, nice to have around. So
you were 1 run away from being eliminated by the whole thing,
I know.
and then you would have had either Vegas or Galveston in the finals. That would have been wild.
Then it would have been New York winning because New York had a hell of a team.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
But you pulled it out.
I did, and then like we said, when it got to Galveston, there's not much to say. I just had to win that series, and I did pretty easily.
You lost game 1 as well, though. I mean, you were down, then you.
I know.
You've had the most high-scoring games so far. You have the 5-9, the 8-2, the 8-10.
Yep. My offense is like the opposite of Mark's. Like in terms of on paper, it looks like it shouldn't work, but somehow it does.
So when you like scout hitters, do you just look at what their production is, or do you look at their ratings?
Both. I look at both. I try to, in my head, get a sense of how well did this guy's ratings match his production.
Mhm.
And then I look at age and I try to create a chart in my head of, where on this guy's trajectory is he? And can I get in before he has a monster season or not? This works really well in the Bronze League. You can do this with really cheap players
Yep.
pretty much any year.
Yeah.
Because in the Bronze League, you can pretty much just pick up a dude who you've never heard of, and he'll put up like a 110 right around
Yeah.
WRC plus.
Yeah.
That's fairly
Um,
normal.
So this isn't about the playoffs at all, but I will say the first time I got out of the Bronze League, in 2056, it felt like this monumental achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a couple seasons, I was like, I feel like I could get out of the Bronze League pretty easily again if I needed to.
Yep.
And then years later I ended up getting back to the Bronze League, and all my prospects were still in the minors, and I just signed a bunch of old guys like Phil Wheeler and a bunch of retread pitchers, and I won the BL just by managing it well. I was like, oh, you really can if you do it right.
Yeah, I was stuck in the BL for like 9 years, and because I mean, if there's one thing that the BL is going to do, it's teach you how the league works.
Yeah.
And like you don't realize things until you've made all the mistakes there are to make.
It's a nice safe place to make those mistakes because you're not going to get beaten by, you're not going to get your brains bashed in by Bob and Joey once every couple weeks.
If you just have like the mental resilience to just be okay with sucking for like a year and a half in real life, you're going to learn a lot,
Literally, I've been in this league since late November 2018, and this is my first. So yeah, and I was bad, guys. I was really bad at this game.
Yeah, I definitely made all the rookie mistakes where I traded away first round picks that I didn't really realize how good, powerful the draft was, and everything dumb there is to do I did. And then of course there's some bad luck too where I traded for 2 pitchers and both of them just died. So it's like it's a little bit of everything where you realize you need more than say 5 starting pitchers really. You learn the importance of depth and all that stuff. So you're right. I mean, I really think getting out of the Bronze League, it's not easy, but it's not hard.
Once you learn how to do it, you're like,
once you know the league,
that's not that bad.
Yeah. So yeah, you cleaned up Galveston fairly confidently. Not too much of a stressful series, I guess.
No, not really. But then New York, it feels like Jackson's been one season behind me since we got out of the Silver League. We had a promo series. I beat him, then he got promoted the next year. It's felt fitting, as we said, and we're both the 2 Guardians fans in the league, so we have that going for us too. And that series that was gross. Like I was watching that one live, and that made my stomach.
This 4-3.
My stomach. Yeah, it made me feel awful.
All right, well let's give Jackson some credit. He 3-0'd Bob.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was, let's take a look, 4-2, 5-3, 5-1. Fairly confident.
Fairly lopsided, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's look at his team real quick. He had Mike Rumpf, and the story with him, we mention this all the time. Out of nowhere, he got an 80 grade changeup and became an ace.
Yep.
So just some devil magic right there.
Yeah.
Bernard Neary had another great year. This is a guy.
International free agent signing.
Yeah.
Point that out.
This is a guy who I don't understand how he's that good.
Hey, we're going to get to my team. We're going to talk about Andres Gonzalez. He's the poster boy for that.
I mean, and then, of course, I want to bring up another one of my guys, Jesus Guerrera, who I had, who couldn't put it together. He trades him away. He puts up 3 WAR. So I just don't get why everyone gets better when they leave my team. I think it's me.
I think part of it is guys do well, and you can control to some extent whether a guy has a good season or a bad season by putting him in a role where he's frequently coming up in situations where he can succeed. It's really hard to do that when you're simming a week at a time, but when you play like in an offline sim and you do game by game, it's quite easy to do that, and you can put up ridiculous stat lines by doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should do more like 7-day lineups and stuff like that. But either way, I'm happy for Jackson. This is a good team. When you look at this offense, I mean, it led the PL, which is always impressive to do.
Yeah, his offense was nasty.
Another guy. How does this dude work?
What are his park factors? I think he's got a really offensive heavy park. Yeah, that's part of why these guys work.
Ah. So are all these pitchers
Like,
then
he,
just movement guys?
I remember a long time ago, I think it was in CBA 1.0, there was a pretty large debate about how much park factors matter. I think the overall conclusion is that park factors don't matter a ton, and I have to disagree with that. Like, I think park factors matter a lot, but you have to look at it big picture, not small picture. And when we're looking at whole season aggregate stats, you'll see in offensive parks, mediocre guys have really good years.
You know, he had a better record on the road then. I wonder
Yeah,
if
but
that's
baseball's
because his
you
offense
can't
could
predict baseball, Susan.
Yeah, he had a really rough June and July and then came alive in August. I remember thinking that there's a solid chance he was going to miss the playoffs completely. But his August really kind of, when you go 10 games over 500,
Yep.
Every
time you have a good season, you're looking for that like 2-week period
where you just can't do anything
you're
wrong.
Like unbeatable, and that will propel you through to at least the promo series, generally.
Yeah, and he and it was fairly decisive. I mean, he was 6 games up from 5th place. I remember that Phoenix was who I thought was going to finish 4th, and they slid heavy.
Yep.
I want to see real quick. Phoenix. Oh my God! Look at their August 11 and 17.
Gross.
Well, I guess they really only had a good
It was just
May.
a bad season for the Sun Dogs, and it's hard to pinpoint why. It's really hard to pinpoint why.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the finals. You ready for that? Were you watching this one live?
I was, and I was eating dinner with my wife, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's happening right now." And she was not super pleased that I was watching fake baseball while we're eating dinner, but.
Okay, so you won game 1.
And that was the first time that I actually, it was Bobby Cortez, I believe. I think starting at game 3, we have box scores again due to the 1-week rule. No, we don't anymore. We'll check because it's been more than a week, but there's been no games. So nothing should have been overridden.
We got them.
Yeah, we're still good. Okay, good.
All right. So what do you remember from games 1 and game 2?
I remember. Game 1 was awesome. I was down 2-0 the whole game. Andres Gonzalez hit a 3-1 walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th.
Oh, nice.
That was an awesome game. It doesn't get talked about enough because the box scores lost to the ether.
Mm-hmm.
But that one swing pretty much justified his whole contract.
What about game 2?
Game 2, it was close, and then there was a lot of scoring in the 8th and 9th, and then I ended up losing in the 10th, as we see. I remember feeling like coming out of that game, I was kind of like, I just feel happy to get through the first 2 games even, because I felt like both games could have gone either way. So ending 1-1 felt kind of right. So I wasn't too upset because I got lucky and I got unlucky. So is what it is. Game 3 is where the series went bonkers, and game 3 was Bobby Cortez versus Mike Rumpf, and I don't know how it became 16-8, but it did.
Oh my God! 2 innings and 3.1 innings.
Yep.
That is brutal. You have both ace versus ace, and no one makes it to the 5th.
Yeah. I predict baseball, Susan.
That's a good cast then. He kind of put it out for you then.
And I traded. I'll sing some of these guys praises. It was a really small deal. I got him from Las Vegas. He was starting for Las Vegas, and one of the things that I do is I look for starters that can be good relievers. Not every failed starter can be a good reliever, but this guy could be. He's not been a stopper or anything, but he's just been solid value every season I've had him.
I mean, he's been good every season you've had him.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really solid. So you brought him in when you needed him. You needed 5 innings, and that's where you got it.
Yeah, he ate those innings great.
Oh my God, what happened here with Klein? 1 inning, 6 runs.
Look at the box score. I'm kind of curious. Or look at the line score. I mean,
he's already been dealt. This might have been somebody who was loaned. This is probably
go back really quick. Go up to the top. Click game log up top.
The 6th inning, whenever that was.
Go down to that. Yeah, go down to that inning. I want to see exactly what happened.
Yoshimura, Boston legend.
Yeah.
Who was I looking for?
Klein was like an 8th or 9th, I think, because it was
Joe
right
Klein.
Top of the 9th. Yeah.
Fly out, single, stole second.
Single. Hit by pitch.
Hit by pitch.
Single.
Another Boston legend right here.
Yep. Single, triple. That'll do it. Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh. Then they brought him in, running a substitute, and he got 2 strikeouts.
And I just want to point out Daniel Badger. I want to highlight Daniel Badger because he is from Cleveland. We'll talk about him more in Game 7. But just point out Daniel Badger's from Cleveland. I traded for him mostly because he's from Cleveland. Homie does the same thing with his players.
Oh my God, he went off for you.
He did. He had the game-winning hit. He actually drove in or scored every run in Game 7.
See, I wish we could have him like. Would you say that this is like your TOC MVP?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. We can see the win probability added, half a game by himself.
Yeah, he was MVP right there. That'll do.
All right. So that was a wild game. Wheels really fell off for New York there. I feel like whenever,
especially if you look at the box score again, I want to point out I scored 9 runs after the 7th inning.
You were losing going into the 8th inning.
I was losing 8-7. Yeah.
Wow.
So after Game 3, I was like, I could actually do this, even though I'm still on the road. I could do this. Let's win the whole damn thing. I got to win 2 more.
It's one hell of a comeback. Then you had Game 5, 4, and you got blown out. Not blown out, but
who was pitching? No, who was pitching here? Oh yeah,
you
Brian
Chamberlain. He played well. He pitched well. You can't complain.
Yep. And this is he was a guy I traded for at the deadline. He's put up good WAR numbers, but his traditional counting stats haven't been great. I identified this as a guy that was suffering from a mediocre or bad defense.
Mm-hmm.
And when I brought him over with my good defense, you can see his numbers look a whole lot better. And I'm excited to see what he can do next year. That is strange
to see this much difference between ERA and FIP. You'd expect this to be like 20 points higher.
Yep, correct.
All right. And he went up against Parker, who only went 4 innings. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if that's just what he typically does.
Or did he get hurt?
No.
No.
I mean, it was the right call, though. I mean, the bullpen, the opposite of yesterday, the previous day, they cleaned up. They were pretty solid. So did Klein go? He gave up 6 runs. Then they brought him back in the next day with no doubts.
That's baseball. And he got a save in the next game.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that was another game where it was fairly tight.
Yeah, I got one hit by the umpire too. I didn't realize it was one.
Oh my God, one. You got it, Badger.
Of course it was Badger. Of course it was. MVP of the series for sure. But so at this point it's 2-2. We got 3 games left, and it's like a 3-game series. I know I got Bobby Cortez going in Game 7 if I can get there. I got Steve Savoy in Game 6. I forget. I think it's Vitello in this game. No, Vega in this game.
So this
wasn't
is game
great, but he did enough.
5, right?
Game 5, yeah.
Vega pitched.
Vega in Game 5, Savoy in 6, and then Cortez in 7.
Vega pitched. He didn't pitch well. 5 earned runs in 6 innings.
Burford. He came off a torn meniscus. He got like 3 starts for the season, so he wasn't great. But like, what else am I supposed to do? Sit him? Nope. I had to roll with it.
His final regular season. No, he pitched twice in the series. Then his first game he pitched well.
Yeah, no, but I just meant that he had a pretty bad postseason outside of Game 2 or Game 1 of the finals, but he definitely wasn't at his best because he was coming off an injured season.
He wasn't even playing that well. So he pitched into the 7th inning. Going into the 7th inning, he had pitched 6 innings, 3 earned runs. That's not bad.
Yep. No,
maybe in CBA stage it's a little bad, but that's still okay. You should be in the game. Fine. And then the 7th inning, what happened?
Just should have been taken out. I wasn't able to micromanage this game.
He started with the strikeout, single, fielder's choice,
and then just couldn't put the inning away.
Yep, couldn't close the door.
Yep.
Okay, so technically when he left, there was runners on 2nd and 3rd. Um,
And then
I think.
Sotelo let him score. Yeah, that
Yep.
makes sense. He wasn't bad. He just wasn't his normal dominant self.
Mm-hmm. And then it really doesn't matter though when we only put up one run. Not to be like a hater.
I mean, it
but
doesn't matter. It was two games I wasn't competitive in,
Mm-hmm.
but knew I just had to get it back to Cleveland. That
Yep.
was all.
And so you're down 3-2, back against
Put
the wall.
Steve
2 more
Savoie on
games
the
in
hill.
Cleveland.
Yep. Steve Savoie is my third starter. He's a guy that I got from Vegas a few years ago. I still have no idea what Vegas was doing. I'm sorry, Austin. I'm gonna throw you under the bus here a little bit. He just posted in the block. He's like, my scout doesn't like this guy anymore, and my scout like was very high and still liked him. And I was like, I don't know I don't know. You can have a second round pick for this guy, sure. And yeah, he's been great. He ended up being dominant in Game 6 and being a big part of why I won the championship.
This build, the more even build, you can tell that when we switched to out of the park 23, he became better.
Yeah.
And I got him with the idea that, in fact, maybe I think that's probably what it is. Because before the switch, Austin probably saw some drop off, or he saw he wasn't performing in 22, and I knew he would be good in 23 because of the increased emphasis on movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he'd give you what, 8 scoreless? Wow.
Yeah, he was a stud in that game.
8 scoreless, then your it was a shutout, and then Banda came in, shut the door. Let's talk about
A future Hall of Famer, I believe. Banda's gonna be a Hall of Famer, I believe. Look at his pitching stats. As a
22.8 WAR. A lot
As
of
a
red.
reliever, maybe. Yeah.
138 saves.
Quite possibly Hall of Famer.
These years are doing a lot of work for him because he was used heavily. It's tough.
He was a
I mean,
stopper.
2 times reliever of the year.
And he's got a few rings too.
Oh, really? So they like TOC rings or just
he won with Tampa twice, and then he won with he's got 3 TOC rings too.
I'd vote for him.
Yeah, it's a future Hall of Famer right there. I think so.
Price was on the hill for New York. This is a guy who I like. I thought when Jackson brought this guy in, that was a good move.
He won his Cy Young over Bobby Cortez, and Bobby Cortez's rookie season with this bananas year in the Bronze League. 1.82 ERA. I'm still a little salty about it.
So
I got the last laugh, Tim Price. Aha.
If you're Jackson though, if you're listening to this, Jackson, I don't mean to make you like relive some bad memories, but if you're thinking about, okay, you're up 2 games, you have Tim Price versus Savoie, you have to feel good about that. And Tim Price didn't pitch bad, wasn't good, but 6.1 innings and 3 earned runs.
Yeah,
it looks like really T. Austin was the guy that kind of let the wheels fall off. Tony Austin.
But still, I mean, he got shut out anyway, so it doesn't.
You're absolutely right. Setting us up for Game 7.
Game 7 was.
And the pitchers were Rumpf versus Cortez again.
Whoa, what a Game 7 matchup
I know. So Rumpf, again, didn't pitch well, and Bobby Cortez finally had the performance that we all knew he was capable of.
He was like, all right, Game 7, I guess I'll try hard today. Fine. But yeah, I just want to highlight mostly Daniel Badger hit a 2-run triple to score the first 2 runs of the game. And hometown. Imagine being from hometown boy winning the game like that. Like
in Cleveland.
In Cleveland, I can't even imagine.
His family's probably there watching him.
Like, not even joking. I was thinking about this to myself. If this was real life, would he be a bigger celebrity than LeBron James? And I think the answer is yes.
You mean like a bigger Cleveland celebrity?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you can get higher than LeBron James.
Well, the issue with LeBron James is there are people that hate him in Cleveland. Like, hate him. You know what I mean?
I want to keep him. Once he came back, once he won the title, it doesn't like I literally when he left to LA, I wasn't even mad. I was like, good. I was like, good for you, LeBron. Oh, go get those Hollywood dreams. No problem.
But there's still a lot of people that just hate him in Cleveland.
Oh,
yeah, but that'll go away.
Well,
that'll go away.
I mean,
But no one could hate Daniel Badger is what I'm saying. No one could hate Daniel Badger. Literally nobody.
I mean, he's done all he needs to do to essentially make himself a Cleveland legend forever.
Yep,
You
he's
know,
24 years old at the time. So
Yep.
yeah. Put his number. I can retire his number right now.
No, what was the name of the guy who hit the walk-off home run for Pittsburgh? Like the 60s.
Bill Mazeroski.
Yes. That's the only thing he ever did in his entire career that made him a Hall of Famer.
Yep, but we still know his name.
Yes.
The same thing with Daniel Badger.
Yep.
He's a league legend now just because of that.
And you know, he's got a good enough glove that, like, yeah, you're going to keep him on the team, no questions asked.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's going to be a third baseman of the future. Look at Andres Gonzalez while we're here, because we're almost done with this series. I don't know how this guy is so good. I don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I signed him. But he had just put up like 7 WAR the season before in the PL, and I was like, all right, well, I guess this guy must be good, and I need someone on my team.
Yeah.
But I don't.
I'm always weird when this contact is lower than the gap, home run, and I. Because to me, that's like, are they going to have a bad BABIP? But he put up a 370 BABIP, and he has always put up a pretty good BABIP.
Yeah, it's because he's a line drive hitter. That's really a big factor.
You think so?
I do. I tend to look for line drive hitters, especially with my park with the high doubles and high triples.
Mm-hmm.
I look for line drive hitters. I'm not someone who would frustration sign. Like I've had off seasons before where the perfect player got signed by someone else, so I just didn't sign anyone for that position. I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to win championship this year. But I was like, I don't understand why this guy is so good, but I'm going to sign him, and he's been great.
I guess the thing is, there's something about him that's like bad. He strikes out a lot.
That's fine.
But I just don't think that matters that much in 23.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't, because that's the way.
I just signed that one Japanese guy with like a 40 avoid K, and I'm like, we're gonna roll with it. So we'll see.
I do worry that might be a little bit too low, but we'll see.
Well, think about the guy that Detroit has. This dude put up 5 WAR.
I don't want to talk about Santiago Herrera. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him.
Vegas legend.
Let me just put this out here, because I typed this in general, and it's something that I can't believe. In 1.0, I was a lowly BL team who had no idea what I was doing, and there was an international major league free agent. His name was Jesus Gallegos, I think. Yeah, Jesus Gallegos. And I tried to sign him. I just wanted to have a good player on my team. I like put my whole budget out there, and he signed with Joey in the PL for less. I was salty about that for a long time. Like even in a 2.0, still salty about it. And then it didn't click for me because it went through Vegas. Joey was in the PL and stole this guy from me too. How?
Well, okay, if you want to be technical, Vegas stole him from you.
But he made an agreement to do it beforehand.
But Santiago Herrera didn't know what was happening. You can't blame him. You can blame Joey.
Him, but yeah, I don't have nothing against Santiago. I have nothing against him. The person, but he's also not real, so I don't think he cares.
None of these guys, except for Garcia, look like super.
Yeah, that was the whole
sick.
point. He just signed him money. Money in the CBA has a very strange valuation. It's either worth a lot or worth nothing.
Yeah.
And
it all depends on who you talk to.
Yep. Nothing in between. You'll have some people be like, oh, $20 million, that's not worth anything. And other people will be like, you want $7 million from me? Oh my God, I need a first round pick.
That's kind of where I am.
Yep.
But yeah, so Santiago Herrera, like, yeah, he has speed and stuff. So that might, and I think that matters a lot in 23. But I think my scout even said that he had, it doesn't show it, a 35 during this year.
Well, you're also relative to the Silver League, so change that to relative to the PL and see how that changes. Home run power goes down, but
yeah, interesting player.
He's still good. He's just internationally generated players don't have to follow a certain mold of baseball players. That's why you'll get guys who have like unlimited range but no arm, or great contact but no power. They get these weird extremes.
Just Complete
So
dice
Yeah.
rolls.
he's kind of a
Anything's
mismatch
possible.
of those things too.
All right, but we're getting off topic. Let's talk about your victory, Adam. And then
It was
you
great.
won.
I loved it.
You cleaned up. And it was
I
pretty
did. I did a
dominant.
lap
So I
around the
imagine
restaurant.
imagine the beer sales in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning.
Oh, they were wonderful. It was just because Bobby Cortez was finally looking like Bobby Cortez with every eye on him.
Just sitting everybody
And
down.
there was after Daniel Badger hit that home run. But if we look at the game log, with 2 outs in the 9th, there was an error to let a runner reach, and I bet everyone's butthole was so tight.
The second baseman made the error. E3.
Yeah.
Was that Badger?
No, it was E3 is the first baseman. Like Sean Fillmore dropped it.
Okay. It's been a
Badger
minute.
should have been the third baseman. Yeah, Badger was the third baseman. Because Jeff Jaworski from Winnipeg is going to be a stud. That kid, he put up a great season in the PL on loan.
Yeah.
2.4 WAR in 71 games. Hell yes, sir.
See, this is the build though that like got nerfed. But my scout's
know,
also
but-
low on him. If he's more like this player, he'll be good.
Mhm.
But you can't argue with a 137. That's still very, very, very good. Whatever it splits. Okay. Not super sick versus lefties, but can play almost anywhere.
Yep,
I
but
mean,
my team is very righty dominant, so I was specifically looking for a lone target that could bat left-handed. So I was happy with those splits. I don't have a problem sitting him against lefties at all.
You know, if you really
he's
need
gone
to,
now.
though, you can put him in
Take
center
care
field.
of him, Winnipeg. You could, yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be amazing, but you could do it.
It'd take a while to get him adjusted, but yeah, it would take more than a spring training. It would take like if you were out of it, just put him out there all of September and then all of spring training, and then he'd be fully adjusted to center field.
Yoshi Murrow is one of my guys, and I didn't think he'd be that good, so I traded him away, and I was kind of right. He put up negative WAR, and then all of a sudden, I think 2068 was probably when Jackson took over. He just put it all together. I don't know what happened
It's
there.
also in how you use guys. Look the years before. 115.2,
Tried to make him a
97,
stopper.
80. Those innings goes down a little bit. Maybe if all of those like 17, 18 innings that he didn't pitch were bad situations, then yeah, he's gonna look a whole lot better on the end of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Adam, any final thoughts on your championship season?
No, it's been great. I feel like it's just like I said at the start, it's a monkey off my back. Like it's justification that I'm pretty decent at this. I kind of know what I'm doing, and that's best feeling in the world. That's all I really need.
It is fitting that John Robert did win with you.
And Bobby Cortez on the same team.
Yes.
In fact, if you look, I'm glad you actually brought him up because I totally forgot about this till right now. He kind of because he wasn't having the best season. I took a loan for another DH, Kaneko, I think from Boston actually.
Yeah, my guy.
And but I did play Robert in one game. I started him in one game of that series, game 3 against Rumpf.
He played well
because I figured a left-handed hitter would do well against Rumpf's ridiculousness. And look, he went off 3 for 6, 4 RBIs. I feel like I pulled that lever exactly right, and I just want to point that out.
Yeah, it's very, very fitting. So just to drop even more lore, John Robert right here was, let's look at his numbers. Insane. When he first started off. And he was 17 years old and hitting really, really well. Ended up playing really, really well. It's a little split, but essentially 3 WAR seasons. At, again, 17 years old, 18 years old.
And from a DH, it's amazing.
Then he gets traded to Phoenix along with other players, so it's a package for Bobby Cortez.
I think it was just 2 first-round picks and Robert, I believe.
And Tommy, who's the GM of Phoenix, he even said he would do the trade again because those picks turned into players that helped him when he won in 2069.
That was a rare win-win trade, even though for a while when it became clear that Bobby Cortez was going to develop even further than the game projected at the time, from a really good ace to, as you described it at the time, the GOAT, which is where he is at right now. He's in the discussion. If he doesn't get hurt,
Yeah,
anything bad
Cortez
happens,
is
he's
going
in
to
the
be
discussion for
stupid.
GOAT. Yeah. It's turned into be a win-win trade because Drew Hicks is fantastic, and the other pick, I forgot who we got with it, but it was also a good pick.
5 and 27. He's already put up 27 WAR.
It's ridiculous. The one thing I will say is because his personality is so bad, he's gonna have seasons. He's gonna have a high level of fluctuation in his seasons. Like 4 years ago, 4.57 ERA, and then in 2070, 1.72 ERA. It's a really wide standard deviation, but he's so good it doesn't even matter.
I mean, yeah, if you just don't give up, I mean, he doesn't do anything bad at all. I mean, he doesn't give up home runs, doesn't walk a lot of guys, and he strikes at everybody. Like, what more could you ask for? This is like, and he's got the best nickname in the league. Doesn't even have like splits.
Nope, not really. Although if you're a right-handed batter with that 80 movement, oh my God, could you imagine an 80 movement slider coming from this guy at 101 miles an hour? In the last offseason, he just got a 60 out of 65 forkball.
Wait, he developed this pitch?
Yeah, and his velocity went up a mile per hour. If you go to scouting,
yeah.
Look at April of 2071.
Oh my God.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
That's not even fair. God, I've seen what you've done for others. Please.
Like, I've never had a guy just develop a 80-80 changeup out of nowhere, but I'll take it.
You'll take a 65 forkball.
Yeah. And then you just went to the contract. Yes, I locked this guy up a year too early, but I didn't think there was any way I was going to get a high creed player to lock up unless I did it 2 years early and just not give him a discount. Because if Bobby Cortez went to free agency, he was going to get $80 million a year.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
No real doubt about that. If that's what
So
Herrera gets,
no regrets about that deal at all.
I mean, you can't, dude. You got best pitcher and you got your ring, and if you're Tommy, you got your ring too. Who cares?
Yep.
All right, Michael. Any final thoughts on the season?
Season played out for Philadelphia about how I expected. I'm looking forward to next season, having something to compete for. Got a couple trades in the works, a couple other feelers out. So, and I did wind up buying out the second year of Barry Wilburn's deal, loan deal with Winnipeg. So he'll be playing for Philadelphia this season.
Nice. What about you, Adam?
Well, I will say this. If for some reason I am not in the playoff picture, but I'm also not in the relegation picture, which I think is a fairly frequent, occurrence this year. If you run all the simulations, I think I finished like 5th or 6th, a good number of times. If I feel comfortable, you could see me loan a lot of my good players this year, but we'll see where I am.
Really?
We'll see. Bobby Cortez has a chance to pitch somewhere else, just on loan. I'm not against the idea.
Interesting. I'm sure for an exorbitant price.
Oh yeah. Have you seen my top prospect list? It's just guys. It's just guys in my minors.
All right. Yeah, I think Boston's going to be bottom of the barrel as well. I'm heavily considering trading the Japanese guy I just signed.
I have a Japanese guy who will be making his debut for Philadelphia real soon.
This guy?
Kodama.
Oh my God, I wanted him. I might have to get in touch with you.
Yeah, he's not that sweet. He's not that good. I'm kind of banking on the fact that a Void K doesn't matter anymore. And it's not that bad in the Silver League.
Although you just showed me your scouts' ratings of him, so I don't know if I want him anymore. I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I'm probably just going to hold on to him. Why not? I'm also going to put him
this
in
is a
center
guy
field. Who cares?
when I talk about I look for guys with a fit. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to answer you perfectly because when I get the follow-up question, this guy is a perfect fit for what's missing on my team right now. Do I want to pay him $13 million a year? No, but This guy would fit perfectly in the hole on my team. I need like a fourth outfielder to play 5 days a week at various positions. That's what this guy is.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be like elite, but I think he'll be fine. And at the
If
end
he
of the
was
day,
in the
I have
BL,
money that I'm doing nothing with, and if I can flip him for
Yep.
assets, I'm gonna do it.
If he was in the BL, he's a definite starter. Probably definite starter in the Silver League too. But if you can get this guy 4 to 5 games with favorable matchups in the PL, he is going to look really good.
That's pretty much my exact take. He's not a world beater, but I got money, might as well use it, you know?
Yep.
All right.
I
Well, I
miss
guess
Quinn
that's
and
it.
his unlimited money. It's a long
All right. I guess that's kind of everything that I have. One more time, congrats, Adam.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats, Adam.
Thank you very much. It feels good, but the new season, I'm already ready to see what I can do with this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think a solid chance of actually both your guys' teams being in the next beautiful bracket I draw up. So
Can't wait.
And I'll be watching from home. All right. That's
1,
all I
2,
got,
3,
guys.
Cancun. All right, have a good one, man.
All right. Congrats one more time. Have a good night, everyone.
Yep, good night.